This is the Katana Air EX from Boss, the updated, expanded amp that is searching for a place in your home. And I've had this one in my home for about a month, and I've been testing it thoroughly. I even took it to band practice to see how it would fare up against a drummer. In fact, I first unboxed this at band practice, and the rest of the band thought that I brought a new Katana head with me. And when I plugged into it and tested it against my very loud drummer, it sounded, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. Before I do get into it, I've put chapter markers in this video, so if there's something specific you want to know about the Katana Air EX, then you can just skip to that part. I won't mind. Now, if you've seen my review of any of the Katana series of amps, you'll know that I'm a big fan. And if I could only take two pieces of gear to a gig, I'd take a guitar and a Katana 100. The Katana Air EX is a completely different beast to its bigger brothers, however, and it's twice as expensive as a Katana 50 and about $100 more than the original Katana Air. So why have Boss released this? Is it purely a practice amp, or can you record with it, and can you even gig with it? Well, yes to all those questions, but to explain that, I'm going to have to go over what the Katana Air EX offers that other amps don't. The Katana Air EX is a stereo wireless desktop amplifier with over 60 effects and 5 different amp types. There are 6 preset slots. It's got Bluetooth for streaming audio from your phone, or an aux-in if you prefer to use a cable. It comes with a Boss wireless transmitter, but you can also plug in with a standard guitar cable if you want, but you can't do both at the same time. It's got headphones out for silent practice, and it's got a stereo line out which doesn't turn off the internal speaker. So you could take this on stage, use this as your monitor, and then line out to the mixing desk of your PA and make it as loud as you want. There's also a 4-channel audio interface, which requires its own explanation, and I'll get into that in a little bit. I really want to get into the sounds of this amp because when Boss told me they were sending one for me to review, they said the sounds are gonna blow your mind, or words to that effect. So yeah, I want to share that with you. But first, if you're familiar with the Boss Katana range of amps and the sounds of those amps, imagine that, but portable. And if you know this, the original Katana Air, then imagine that, but sounding like a real amp rather than a plastic box with guitar effects in it. Because the Katana Air EX has 2 5-inch speakers and a wooden cab. All right, let's do my top 5 tones for the Katana Air EX. And if you like the tones, you can download them as a free preset using the link in the video description. Now, even though I've close mic'd it, I've tried to make it sound as much as it sounds like to me in the room. But I've also got a Zoom portable recorder over there, which is about 2 meters away, directly in line with the speakers. And I'm going to go to that in a moment so you can hear a little bit more of the room sound. So first the close mics and then the room mics. And this is how loud it is in the room compared to my voice. Hello? 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 Yeah, it's pretty loud. One of the questions that people asked me before I made this video was, can you take the Katana EX to your band rehearsal to see if it can compete with the drummer? And yes, I can. And indeed, I did. You probably noticed the amp was in front of the drums and I put it there to give it a fighting chance, but it turns out I wasn't even at maximum volume in that clip. And then, after making that video, I found out something about the Katana EX that I didn't know when I made that part of the video. And that is that this amp only gives you 35 watts of power when it's plugged into the mains. And in that video, it was running on batteries. So not only was this not at full volume, it was also in 20 watt mode as opposed to 35 watt, meaning I think you could gig with this without putting it through a PA, but I would still put it through the PA. Right, comparison time. The Air versus the Air EX. Miking it up with two Lewitt dynamic mics. Air EX first, and then Air Original. I really hope that difference comes across in the video, because in the room, that couldn't be more different in terms of fullness and real amp versus little box. Now, I remember this coming out and I loved it, and I still love it because it gives you all the functionality of those Katana tones in a small portable box. However, comparing that to the new Air EX, that sounds absolutely terrible. Whoops. I'm going to have to watch my own Katana Air review back now, because maybe I said some really nice things about that, and I'm aware that I might be saying some really nice things about the Air EX. It's easier to look back than it is to look forward. I was using the same patch on both amps then, and in defense of the original Air, I like the bitiness and the scratchiness and the definition, but the full bottom bass end of the Katana Air EX takes it. And I know with a bit of EQing, I could get the EX version to sound more bitey and more cutting, like a katana. Tone-wise, I would liken the Air EX more to the 50 or possibly the 100 rather than the actual original Air, which is odd. I did not expect such a difference. But the 50 and 100 take pedals beautifully. Let's find out if the Air EX does the same. The pedals du jour are the Legacy Fuzz from Cornell, the HRM V2 from J-Rocket, and the G3 from Rev. So we've got a fuzz, an overdrive, and a distortion. Now this is my clean tone, which is not entirely clean. I've got it on the crunch channel with just a touch of gain. I prefer that to the actual clean, which is this. I think the crunch with a little gain does better for my taste. Up first, the fuzz. That's a good fuzz tone. It plays well with that particular fuzz, which can be a little bit finicky. Let's try the overdrive. Yeah, now I can hear the 5-inchness of the 5-inch speakers. It's not that it's bad, it's not lacking bass. This is being really unfair, by the way. It's a tiny little amp. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to kid you that it sounds like a 4x12 stack. It doesn't. But it's certainly there for where you need it, if that makes sense. It's just very clearly a small little box now. Right, let's try some distortion. The G3. While we're on the subject of pedals, I've brought the amp down here for a moment to show you this. The optional Boss FS-1WL. You can connect this to the Katana Air EX via Bluetooth and then change channels or do a whole bunch of things with it. So you can play and pause videos, you can change channels, you can put the boost on and off if you want. And that's exactly how I've got this set up. So I've got this button here. Well, I'll show you. Let's turn that around, actually. Right, I'm currently on channel A, green. Do you see it there? And I'll take the WL and I'll press this one. That'll take me down to red and then to orange, although that looks a slightly different color on the camera. And then back up to green. And if I go even more up, I'm on the panel and then I'm on channel B. So I can go through all the patches like that. And then if I'm on a patch that has a boost on it, I can turn the boost on and off with that switch. And I think that is an absolute game changer if you want to increase that level of convenience. So imagine you're in your living room, you want to play something, you pull this out from a drawer, you stick it on the floor, you pick up your guitar, it turns on automatically due to the accelerometer in the old fandangle, and then you're playing and you're changing channels or you're activating videos or whatever. It's about $100, but it's a worthy addition if you buy into the Katana Air EX ecosphere. And this is also not the only way you can control the amp externally. There's also a wireless expression pedal, which I don't have yet, and there's one other way, which you might guess. You can change a lot of the stuff on the amp just using the knobs and the little switches, but if you want more tweakability, you're going to need the Tone Central app. And on here, you can do the same stuff that you can do on the amp, but more. And it's an okay app. The Boss apps have not sort of traditionally been very good. This one I really like. You can also, in case you're wondering, go into the effects and you can edit the effect, turn it on, and you can change the pedal that is associated with the different colored buttons. You've only got 3 colors on the amp. So if you want to change, say, the yellow to a rat or the yellow to an HM2, you can do that in the app. And then it's then saved to the amp, so you don't need to do it every time with the app. But you've also got the librarian where you can save your presets, so you have more than just the 6 on board. And you've got Tone Central where you can download some patches that Boss have had artists put up there. I haven't found a way to connect this to the Tone Exchange yet, so if there is a way, please let me know in the comments. However, Session is very interesting. This was on the GT Pocket thing, the Pocket GT. There we go. You can load in song lessons and you can put them to different speeds and play them, and you can go to certain parts of the video and basically, there we go. You can do that, and oh, there's Pete. Hello, Pete. You can do many different things on this little session for learning a guitar. I think it's very useful if you've got, oh, Marty Schwartz. Marty Schwartz is one of my favorite teachers, as is Andy Guitar and Justin Guitar. You can do all that on this app, and it's absolutely free. So go and do that. Things that I've left out that I need to cover. Ways to power the amp. Right, you can power it with the mains cable, so plug it into electricity. You can power it with 8 AA batteries, which is the worst way to power it because then they're throwing away at the end. But you can also power it with rechargeable batteries. There's also a power pack, which is a Boss thing that works on many of the different Boss amps. You can stick that on there as well. And I think it lasts twice as long as the equivalent AA batteries. That is another $100 though. So I've got it running on rechargeable AAs and I am perfectly happy with that. Boss have also crammed a 4-channel audio interface into the Katana Air EX, meaning that you can record stereo in, which is wet, and that's the effects that you hear on the amp. So if you hear a nice crunchy tone, you record that through channels 1 and 2. But if you record channels 3 and 4 as well, you also get your dry guitar signal as if your guitar was going directly into your computer. That's useful because it has 4 outputs, 2 stereos. You've got stereo 1 and 2, which is the normal stereo playback. So you would hear whatever you've recorded back over the Katana, so you can use it for a recording monitor. But 3 and 4 will send whatever you send to it through the effects, if it's not a clean signal, it goes through the effects of the amp, meaning that you could send your inputs 3 and 4 to outputs 3 and 4 and reamp into 1 and 2 again. Sorry, I had to think about that then, and get a different sound the second time around. That's a very bad explanation of reamping. But if you want to reamp, you can do it with the Katana Air EX. And I have a video on reamping on the channel. Go and watch that instead of watch me trying to rehash reamping again. Sorry. I'm now going to talk about possibly the most important point in this video. Why would you buy a Katana Air EX? It does all this stuff that I've talked about. However, you could buy 2 Katana 50s for the price of that. You could save some money and buy a Katana 100. You can almost buy a Katana Artist for the price of the Katana Air EX. So why would you get this one? And the reason is because it's a lifestyle amplifier. Sorry, I was a bit sick at the back of my throat then. A lifestyle thing. It's not the amp that you gig with. It's not the amp that you put your pedals through, although Boss have made sure that you can do those things. But this is for the person that wants an amp that is for their desktop or their bookshelf in the living room. And indeed, it's been on my bookshelf in my living room for a while, and I've sat down and played it. One of the reasons is, just like with the original Katana Air, the transmitter has an accelerometer in it, and when you pick up the guitar, it turns the whole thing on. And then when you're finished, you take your guitar off and you put it down, and the accelerometer will know that you've put it down and turn the whole thing off after a certain period of time. And the transmitter lasts for around 12 hours. I certainly haven't charged it that much since I've had it. But if you do want to charge it, you can charge it in the top of the amp. My point is, what you're paying for here is convenience. And with the original Katana Air, which is down here, I still like this thing. I still like what this does. It gives me all that functionality and the audio interface and all that. But the sound compared to that is worlds apart. That is, in sound, closer to that than it is to the Katana 50 and 100. Whereas that is closer to the Katana 50 and 100 than it is to that. If that makes sense? I hope that's a good way of explaining it. Basically, that sounds like a real amp and it fills the room with sound. That doesn't, and the Katana 50 will have cables everywhere, and there's no way I would be allowed to have a Katana 50 in my living room for very long. That was on my bookshelf for quite a while, and it didn't even get noticed for a couple of weeks. Right, let's round off this video with a nice list of negatives and positives. Positive first, right. Positives is, this is a real Katana. It's got all that functionality that I've gone over in the video. It's a great amp, period. Add all those expensive functions to it, like the wireless and the fact that it's portable and has battery capability, then you're going to be paying a bit more. Which leads on to, I guess, the biggest negative is that price. But price, if you need an amp that is fairly inconspicuous in a living space, so maybe you don't have a studio or a basement or a shed or something, and you need to play guitar and you want to be able to pick up your guitar and start playing within seconds, and you want to stream backing tracks and play along to those backing tracks, this is a very sensible choice in terms of tone, functionality, and reliability. Maybe not looks and definitely not price, but only you can decide that if it's too expensive, because what you're paying for here is the convenience, as I've already said. I don't want to know that this is too expensive than, more expensive than the 50. Why would I get that? The 50 is a different beast. If you want an amp in the corner where you have to have it plugged in and you have to have cables trailing around and stuff like that, that's fine. That's not what this is trying to replace. This is trying to be a convenience amplifier. Yeah. Okay, I guess the other negative is that the handle is off center, and that's a bit weird. So when you have a lunchbox amp like this one, it's in the middle and it's nicely balanced. This one, even though it is a heavy amp, it feels heavier than it is because it's pulling down that way. That being said, I probably wouldn't carry it around that much. I'd have it back in my bookshelf, which is where it may be, and you may see it in the future just, hidden in the back of my lifestyle videos, when I start doing that. But yeah, overall, the Katana Air EX is a great lifestyle amp. It is a lot of money, but if it solves the problem that you have, it is absolutely worth the money because it sounds fantastic. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. There are links to the Katana Air EX and lots of other stuff in the video description, including a link to my 100,000 subscriber giveaway. Go and have a look. And speaking of subscriber, there's a button there you can click which will subscribe you to the channel. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!